If Pyros and Crips all got along, they probably got me down by the end of the song. Seem like the whole city go against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear drop, 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 drop.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
It's way too late to do a Super Bowl reaction. I had the video there. I was just too lazy to upload it, honestly. So that video is just never gonna come out. But yeah, I had the video made already. I had everything ready. I just never bothered uploading it. So yeah, so this is gonna be the second Bengals video. And basically, I just want to go over why I got my last laugh on this shit. You know what I mean? I gotta address that shit. I mean, cause what is it? The previous video I talked about how they ruined his career. Now this, I think, this is probably the most franchise-altering decision of all time. You know what I mean? Of all time. Of all time. You know what I mean? Now let me explain. So, no, if you really think about it, I think this is the worst decision of all time. Everyone always talks about Jamarcus Russell going number 1 being the worst decision of all time, but it really wasn't that bad of a decision because the Raiders weren't going to win shit anyways. You know what I mean? You have to, like, I was going to do shit. Like, the Raiders weren't going to win shit anyway, so it really doesn't affect them. But in this case, because they made such a grave error, they could potentially go on to waste one of the greatest quarterback talents of all time in Joe Burrow. I'm saying talent, not quarterback. I'm saying quarterback talents of all time in Joe Burrow. You know what I mean? And let me explain, like I said, let me explain why it's so bad. So first off, I gotta say this. First off, I gotta say, like, I understand you want to have as many great receivers, but when you have that one receiver that these two already have a connection with, what ends up happening is your offense becomes a lot less efficient, and you just end up force-feeding that one guy. Now, what I've noticed is the way the offense, I'm not going to say the offense in general, because, you know what I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's obviously going to say that they were better this year than last year, but I think the offense was run better last year. I mean, I'm not going to say the offense was better last year, because last year the O-line was worse than it was this year. You know what I mean? And, like, statistically, obviously, you see the yard, they're going to say a whole bunch of shit. But the way the offense was run last year was way better than it is this year. Because last year, that man Joe Burrow was just spreading the ball out to everyone. Everyone was getting this. You get a target, you get a target, you get a target, you get a target. You know what I mean? You had him spreading the ball out to T. Higgins. You had him spreading the ball out to Tyler Boyd. You know what I mean? Even Auden Tate was getting busy. Drew Sample was looking good for a few games. What is it? CJ Uzomah before he went down, he was looking pretty good. AJ Green stopped trying, so I'm not gonna mention him. But, like, you get the point. Like, I don't know what happened to John Ross, but you get the point. Like, he was spraying the ball around. Like, the offense was way more efficient. They didn't have the numbers statistically, and they didn't have the O-line that they had this year, but the way it was run was way more efficient. Because now they have completely gone away from that mindset of being able to spread the ball around to keep the defense honest. Because if you really look at it, think about the Bills last year and the Bills this year. Have you noticed how much more efficient the Bills' offense was this year? Because I know the Bills had, like, a great season. They went, like, what, 14-3 or something? They went 14-3. They went to the AFC Championship game. But can you honestly tell me that the offense from last year's Bills team is better than this year? Because look at what they did. They went out and signed Emmanuel Sanders. They involved Gabriel Davis more in the offense. You know, I don't know what the hell happened to Cole Beasley. That man just disappeared. But, like, you know, because last year it was basically just Stephon Diggs. And if Stephon Diggs had a bad game, then it was just over. But this year they're like, okay, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and sign Emmanuel Sanders. Let's get Gabriel Davis involved. And then you still got Cole Beasley. And then let's even get my man Dawson Knox involved. You know what I mean? They made Dawson Knox look like a top 5 to 10 tight end this year. You know what I mean? They were running the ball more efficient. Like, the entire offense was more efficient. And that was because of the way they run. See, when you run your offense, most offenses where they force feed it to one guy do not win Super Bowl. Now people are gonna say, "Oh, the Rams, Cooper Kupp." But you gotta realize, this motherfucker throws it to Odell. Like, he throws it to Odell a good amount of times. He throws it to Jefferson on damn near every deep ball. So he gives it to Cooper Kupp a lot, but he's still getting the other receivers involved. Basically, what would happen this year is he would just spam it to Jamar Chase every play, and if Jamar Chase wasn't open, then he would just spam it to T. If Jamar Chase was getting double covered, then he would just spam it to T. Higgins every play. So that's not an efficient offense because the defense can just clue in on you. And they just completely phased out. They completely phased out Tyler Boyd from the offense. Tyler Boyd was like the number 1 wide receiver a couple years ago, and now he's like barely their 4th string wide receiver because they sometimes they involve Uzama almost more than fucking Tyler Boyd at this point. Like, they just completely are wasting Tyler Boyd's talents. And the reason why I think this was such a big error was because when you're a general manager, when you're a coach, the last thing you want to do is enable your players. The last thing you want to do is that shit. If they have a flaw, you gotta address that shit immediately. You gotta fix that. You cannot enable them to do what they've been doing. You cannot enable, because in the beginning it might not seem like that big of a deal, but over time it will grow bigger and bigger. It's like cancer. In the beginning it's a small little tumor. In the beginning it's a small little pea, but it grows into a big tumor. You know what I mean? Same shit. Because look at Patrick Mahomes. His first few years, all he did was throw the ball downfield. They didn't really know how to throw in the middle of the field. They didn't really know how to take the simple throw. And guess what ended up happening? They took away the downfield throws, and he's been looking mighty average ever since. He had a very pedestrian year this year. You know what I mean? Last year he had a bad Super Bowl. You know what I mean? But you see what happened to, like, they have figured out how to stop Mahomes, and people are going to say, oh yeah, the Chiefs still managed to get the championship game. That's because their defense was carrying them that last half of the season. It wasn't Mahomes who was doing that shit. It was their defense actually who was carrying them. You know what I mean? So I'm afraid that might happen. That might happen to Joe Burrow, but it might be even worse. Because the Bengals clearly don't know how to don't know how to address the offensive line whatsoever. At least the Chiefs made an effort to draft some offensive linemen. Didn't fix the problem, didn't tell Mahomes, hey, you gotta get your act together. But at least they made a fucking effort, bro. You know what I mean? They fixed offensive line, they got all these new players. But my concern is, with what they're doing, it was like the worst possible thing they could have done, because they're enabling Joe Burrow to just force feed Jamar Chase all day long. Man gets no protection, you know what I mean? Doesn't spread the ball around like he used to. Doesn't keep the defense honest. It's just, in the beginning, this is gonna be all fun and games. But once people start game planning for Jamar Chase, because you gotta realize, when defenses will eventually figure you out. You always have to adjust. The way that you do not get figured out is if you end up adjusting. The problem with Mahomes, he had the whole Tyreek Hill thing, and when that worked, he never adjusted, which is why he looked so bad this year. Eventually, everyone can say, oh, Jamar Chase this, Jamar Chase that. But guess what? Because Joe Burrow likes to force feed him so much, defenses are going to start doing the same shit they did with Tyreek Hill to Jamar Chase. You know what I mean? They're going to do the same sort of shit. They're going to figure him out. You're going to be like, okay. But even if you take a look at the other receivers, you know what I mean? You're not going to have an O-line, you know what I mean, to get your second or third read, so that by the time you get to those reads, you're going to get sacked. So, basically, what I'm saying is, Bengals are not looking good at all. Everyone wants to talk about, like, oh, Joe Burrow. Like, even the announcers during the game, he's like, oh yeah, this for sure isn't gonna be the last time we see him here. You know what I mean? They were saying that shit, but like, you gotta think about it. Dan fucking Marino never went back to the Super Bowl. Everyone said Dan Marino's this, Dan Marino's that, you know what I mean? Never went back to another Super Bowl after like a 14-2 MVP level season. Never went back to another Super Bowl. So like, people cannot just assume, like I mentioned before, AFC North is no joke. But back to this shit, because think about what would have happened had they just drafted Penei Sewell and then picked like another LSU receiver in Terrence Marshall instead. You know what I mean? Because if they had Terrence Marshall, what they would have is they'd have a great wide receiver trio. They'd have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Terrence Marshall. All of them would get touches. T. Higgins would get touches, Terrence Marshall would get touches, Tyler Boyd would get touches, and then you'd have Penei Sewell protecting his blind side. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't fucking matter how great your receiver is if your QB has no time to throw. It doesn't matter if he gets it out in like a millisecond. That's not going to be enough to stop these defensive linemen. Because these defensive linemen are a lot more athletic than they used to be. Before, defensive linemen used to be like these 350-pound guys that were just slow as shit, ran like a 5'2". But now you see fucking defensive linemen running like fucking 4.4s, bro. These motherfuckers are no joke. These motherfuckers are damn near as fast as receivers at this point. Like, these motherfuckers are no joke. So you're not, even if you get the ball out in like half a second, that's still not gonna be enough time, and you're not gonna be able to run a play that's gonna be able to do that shit. And once Jamar Chase gets figured out, then you're gonna be even more fucked. But if you had a more balanced offense with Penei Sewell anchoring the left, with Penei Sewell anchoring the blind side, and Terrence Marshall as like the third wide receiver, it wouldn't even be the third wide receiver, because all three receivers would get involved. T. Higgins would get involved, Tyler Boyd would get involved, Terrence Marshall would get involved. It's almost like you have three number one receivers. It's not like that. People are saying it's like that right now for the Bengals, but it's not like that, because Tyler Boyd just is non-existent in the offense. Tyler Boyd just gets all the leftovers. You know what I mean? CJ Uzomah shows up for like one game every 5 games. You know what I mean? They literally lost to the fucking Jets. Like, this is not a consistent team. It's Jamar Chase or bust. It's T. Higgins or bust. It's not a consistent team. This is not a consistent formula. It's just not gonna work out, bro. I'm telling you right now. Because here's the thing. Look at what they still have to address because of this bullshit. Look at what they still have to address. They have to get a left guard because Quentin Spain is trash. They gotta get a center. They gotta get a center because Trey Hopkins is trash. They gotta get a right guard because Jackson Carman is trash. You know what I mean? And then the right tackle situation, I don't know if they're gonna bring back Riley Reeve. I don't know what they're gonna do there. But you know what they could have done? They could have drafted Penei Sewell in the first round. They could have drafted Terrence Marshall in the second round, and then maybe instead of drafting some random from Georgia named Trey Hill, they could have drafted the other Trey Smith, the guy who's balling out for the Chiefs. And now you could slide Williams over to left guard, You know what I mean? Since, like, Riley Reef is on the roster, I'm assuming you would slide Jonah Williams over to the left guard, and now you would have a lineup of Penei Sewell, Jonah Williams.
Price is not today's price.
Penei Sewell, Jonah Williams, Trey Hopkins this year, I guess. Trey Hopkins this year, I guess. Trey Smith and Riley Reef. And then next year you could just replace Trey Hopkins with like Brian Jensen, and then you're gonna be really set. So now you could run the ball more with Joe Mixon. You know what I mean? You won't be forced to like air it out all the time. You know what I mean? So overall, man, it's just because here's the thing: this team clutched it up in a few games, but they had a lot of very bad losses. Like the 41-16 to the Browns, like them losing the Jets, they had a lot of really bad losses. And they shouldn't even got this far, because guess what? The Titans probably aren't going to have Ryan Tannehill next year, you know what I mean? And they gave up 9 sacks, they're not going to have Ryan Tannehill next year, they're probably going to draft the QB at this point, you know what I mean? So Ryan Tannehill's gone, so now they're going to have to deal with him. And then you got their entire division coming back healthy. You have the Steelers drafting QB. So it's not looking good for them, man. It's not looking good. But it could have been looking a whole lot better. Because separation only matters so much if your QB has no time to throw. And there's no better illustration of what I'm talking about than Jamar Chase burning Jalen Ramsey butt naked for the game, but because that motherfucker Joe Burrow got like swallowed up by Aaron Donald, he didn't have time to get the throw off. Jamar Chase was wide open for the fucking touchdown. You know what I mean? That shit would have won the game, but guess what? They didn't have a fucking O-line. Maybe if they had Penei Sewell and they had Terrence Marshall, they could have thrown that shit to T. Higgins. They could have thrown that shit to Tyler Boyd. They could have thrown that shit to Terrence Marshall. They could have marched down the field. They could have ran the ball. They could have done so much more shit. But guess what? They wanted to be dumbasses. They wanted to draft some random named Jackson Carman in the second round because they just assumed that offensive linemen grow on trees, when really offensive linemen is like almost as rare. It's almost as easy to miss on O-linemen than it is for quarterback. The two hardest positions, in my opinion, to scout are offensive linemen and quarterbacks. Because offensive linemen, either you can't block or you can't. And sometimes, you know, offensive linemen look good because they play in weak-ass competition, but when they get into the NFL, then you'll see their true colors. So, really, what's going to happen to the Bengals? Nothing good, I'll tell you that much. Nothing good will happen to the Bengals. Because, guess what? This was their chance. This was their chance. They're not going to have a chance like this every year. This was their golden opportunity. Literally everyone was injured, and the Browns owned them. So even an injured Brown still fucking owns them. You know what I mean? So, and they blew it. And guess what happens usually? Guess what usually happens after teams win a Super Bowl? They get the confidence to go back and do it again. Look at what happened with the Chiefs. They won that Super Bowl. They went 14-2 the next year, and they went back to the Super Bowl again. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I said. Bengals, this is the reason why this is a historic mistake, because you had the potential to have something great, but now it can all just be washed down the drain. It can all be washed down the drain. Because let's say they sign Ryan Jensen, great, they still don't have a right guard, they still don't have a right tackle, you know what I mean? Jonah Williams, he's okay, but he's not a franchise left tackle. You would rather have him either on the right side or at guard. You know what I mean? So, y'all, it's over, man. It's over. Even if y'all get back to another Super Bowl, it's not going to be next year. It's not going to be the year after that. It's probably going to be in like the next 5 to 10 years. Y'all might not even sniff another Super Bowl in a while with how fucking competitive this division's about to be. You know what I mean? So, all I'm going to say, like I said, good luck. Good luck. Y'all screwed up. Like I said, the reason why this is the worst mistake in history is because you had the potential to build something great, and you squander it. In the Raiders' case of drafting Jamarcus Russell, the Raiders were trash anyway, so it didn't really affect anything. But in this case, you had the potential to be great, and you squandered it. Now, maybe, somehow, some way I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somehow, some way I'm wrong. Maybe somehow, some way they shut me up and they get back to the Super Bowl next year. They do all this bullshit. But I doubt it, man. Because you're not gonna find any O-linemen in the draft that's better than Penei Sewell, especially with the pick you have now. Because now you have the number 31st pick.
Yesterday's
so you're not going to be able to find any linemen. You're not going to be able to find any linemen in the... Yeah, you're not going to be able to find any linemen in the first round that are that impressive. You know what I mean? You still have to address your corner position, so you might have to use that first round pick on a corner instead of a lineman, since you still need to fix your corner position, and there's more good corners in the late first round than there are offensive linemen. So by the time you get to the second round, you're going to be looking at some random ass dude like Zion Nelson or like Jordan McFadden or whatever the fuck, like these random ass motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And we all know the Bengals do not have a good history of drafting offensive linemen. So when you have a guy who's supposed to be the next Joe Thomas, who's supposed to be the next Anthony Munoz, sitting on your lap, and you don't even have to make a decision. You don't have to make any sort of decision. You don't have to be like, is this guy gonna be good or not? Like, you know that he's a for sure prospect. He's like the best. He's as good of a left tackle prospect as Trevor Lawrence was a quarterback prospect. Think about that. He was the best left tackle prospect since Anthony Munoz, which is basically the left tackle version of Trevor Lawrence in terms of prospects. And y'all passed on him. For what? For what? One season? What are y'all gonna do after the season? Nothing. Nothing. It's over. It's over. No more Joe Burr. No more Jamar Gritties. You know what I mean? Justin Jefferson is better than him anyway. I actually watched that motherfucker's game. Justin Jefferson actually knows how to get separation. Justin Jefferson doesn't rely on being like 6'5" to do everything. Because you see those big physical receivers fizzle out a lot quicker than the guys who know how to get separation. Because think about it. Julio Jones, what's happening to him every single time? He's always getting injured. AJ Green, he's always getting hurt. You know who was playing in the league till he was fucking 40? Larry Fitzgerald. You know what I mean? What the fuck? Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald. That motherfucker was playing till he's 40 because he knew how to get separation, and he still kept his quickness. So, in the end, what was it all for? That's all I gotta ask. Bengals fans, I'm not gonna shit on y'all because y'all deserve this. Y'all deserve this after all the years that y'all been trash. Y'all deserve to have a Super Bowl appearance. Y'all deserve to have this optimism. But my question is, if y'all never get back to another Super Bowl again, what was it worth? Because now you are facing a very critical offseason in which you have to rely on signing everybody, even though your owner, Mike Brown, is a cheap-ass motherfucker who doesn't sign anybody. Especially, he never addresses the offensive line. I know that for sure. So you got a cheap-ass owner who doesn't want to spend money and never addresses the offensive line. You know what I mean? You still have a cornerback issue. And, like, you have a very predictable offense where all you do is spam it to the receiver. And your quarterback already tore his ACL, damn near like, damn near tore that shit again in the Super Bowl, if you see the way he was walking out in the Super Bowl. So, like I said, if Joe Burrow ends up being like Andrew Luck and fucking retires within the next 3 or 4 years because the offensive line is killing him, what was it all worth? Because now you're gonna have to find another QB. Now you're gonna be in the same situation the Colts were in. Look at what the Colts are doing. They're shuffling QBs every year, every fucking year, ever since Andrew Luck left. They're shuffling QBs. First it was Jacoby Brissett, then it was Phillip Rivers, then it was Carson Wentz. Now they're trying to get another motherfucker. Y'all really want to do that shit? Y'all have a franchise QB in Joey Franchise. He is the hometown kid, and y'all will ruin this man because y'all wanted to bend to his fucking will instead of making the smart football decision, which was to draft some offensive line help for a guy that just tore his ACL, and you could have drafted an LSU receiver in the second round. So tell me, who's the real loser? And I mean, if y'all don't see why this was the worst decision in NFL history, I don't know what else can convince you, because I've made my case at this point. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.